Welcome. This is an introduction to the Creative Life Community Series, which in some ways is a concept that has worked since the 1980s. And in another sense, it's something new, something that's quite different. What has worked before is that it's been known even since the beginning of modern day breath work that breathwork itself would help elevate people's state, break through in their consciousness, help them see the world could be different, their life could be different. They could see through the eyes of love, and they could create relationships that were dramatically different in their life. However, there was another element that was critical to having it integrated into one's life. And that is to rewrite some of the scripts that came from our family, some of the scripts that came from life in our communities. And the community aspect of breath work is, I would say, on a par with the importance of breath in breath work. So how do we create communities that help people integrate those higher states into steady states? And we do that by dealing with everyday life, because you can give lectures and you can give seminars about how the world should be and how we could all be different. But how practical is that? How does it apply to me, Joe, living in Poughkeepsie? That's why each of these 5 seminars, February through June, each of these 5 seminars in the Creative Life Community Series deals with very practical things. First of all, what is the basis of your spirituality? Now, we don't talk about that because that might get into religion or differences in people. No, we talk about it because spirituality just means, what is it that we think and we base our life on is the animating force that makes us different than a lump of mud? How can we talk about that without creating divisions between various world beliefs? How do we get down to the core, what it is that is the basis of our spirituality? Then we look at the mind, which is the next thing, because this has always got its commentary. I call it the inner disc jockey, is always working and telling us right and wrong, up, down. It works on polarities, good, bad. I could say, this is the greatest day. And well, no, it could be a little better. The weather, it's rainy here. So it's always looking for the opposites. What is it that we can program into our mind, and how do we program our mind so that it's not just programmed by the social media or even our parents' belief system or ancestors? How can we truly use our mind in a fresh and creative way? And so there are basic principles of how the mind works. And again, we make this practical, because when we do an exercise about mastering the mind, we don't, again, just talk in theory. We talk about, well, what's going on in your life? What would you like to change? And what have you tried to change for a long time, but have not seemed to be able to do? We take that issue and we work with it. Each one is working on it themselves, and then you work with a partner. And we look at what is in our subconscious that keeps us from creating a different reality. And it's not looking for the devil. It's not looking for evil things. It's not even looking for negative things. Because if something has been operative in our subconscious for years that we've been unable to change, there's a good reason it's there. It may not be a useful reason, but it's a good reason. And we find out what those reasons are, and then how we can adapt our thinking to use the power of the good reason with the creativity of the new thought we want to create. So again, we're not just writing a list of goals and patting one another on the back and say, you can do that. You can change your career and you can sell soap suds to the world. And no, it's not writing anyone else's goals for them, but it's starting out with the basic principle: if I can discover the contents of my mind, which is called the analysis principle. All right, now I've got the contents of my mind. I see the beliefs underneath the surface that are positive beliefs, but that are contrary to my getting what I want to get. Second principle is I can change the contents of my mind, because just knowing why it's not working is the booby prize. Oh, I know why I'm not happy. I'm still not happy, but I know why I'm not happy. Okay, so what are the tools that we use to change those limiting beliefs and to bring them together with the power of our creative intention? And then finally, we can write new goals that now are not sabotaged by our own subconscious. So that's the first day. Okay, that's the spiritual psychology day. Then we work with body mastery. And what I'm attempting to show here is that each of these topics, each of these 5 topics, aren't old-fashioned. It's like, well, who's interested in mastering their mind? You know, they used to do that in the old days. Now we just kind of bumble along. No, these are all relevant topics, and they're going to continue to be relevant in everyone's life, at least as long as we're on the planet. Body mastery. And here, again, we're not looking to levitate or to grow a new limb, or we're looking to see how our body is an energy conducting system. And we can have some influence about how we conduct this energy in its natural flow of charge and discharge, but also the energy fields around us. You know that they've been charted, you know, that there's various zones of intimacy around us. Again, we might know these facts, but then we forget it and we barge into someone's energy field unconsciously, and all of a sudden they're upset. And we wonder why. It's especially important for us to know this as breath workers and to be able to read those energy fields of people. And the third aspect of this, which I haven't seen taught much anywhere else, is what are the patterns in our body that are copied directly from our parents? Well, of course, we have the DNA and the genetics of our parents. No, what are the learned body patterns that we are repeating? Now, it takes a fair degree of humility to do this work, because it's, oh my God, I'm talking just like my father. I have mannerisms that are just, so there's where we got to see, yeah, we've inherited quite a bit, and it's not all bad. You know, there are things that we've inherited that are pretty darn good. And there's some things, again, that, you know, we can upgrade, we can do better on. But again, this is not just talking in general. Each person is working with this individually and with a partner to hit the nail on the head for their life. The third seminar is on prosperity. And what is our general sense of abundance? Are we living in a universe, in a world, let's bring it down to this planet, are we living in a world where we feel abundantly supported? This has nothing to do with how much you have in your bank account. Well, it might have something to do with it, but not much. It's not the core of it, because there's people with all different numbers in their bank accounts that are either happy or unhappy, either feel like they have enough or they don't. Generally, if you ask the general populace, how much is enough? How much is abundance for you? it's always a little bit more than what I have now. Or maybe a lot more than I have now, but it's never quite there. So what are the principles that we have absorbed from our culture and from our family that still are generating a daily sense of enoughness or lack in our life? Again, it's not, here are some common ones. No, what are the ones in your family? Let's write them down. Let's put them under the microscope. Let's field test them. How's that working for you? Okay. And then the whole day has got a series of dealing with the laws of wealth, as it were. How do we earn money, and what are the patterns of our earning that we have repeated in our life? What's working, what's not working? How about saving money? How is that? Is that okay? Is it something that's just natural? Or do we have, say, holes in our pocket? It seems to go in and out for us. Spending, you say, well, what's the problem with spending? Well, a lot of people have a problem with spending and always thinking that my bills exceed my income, for example. And there are games that we play with these things. We just don't wring our hands or think of clever ways to do something different. I like to approach this work in seminars with a sense of play. And so we play games. And I give examples of what people have done in the past to change some of those thoughts, which just are repeating loops. And investing. What are the general laws of investing that will work for you? So we want to come out of that with a greater sense of prosperity, but also tools, because there's a whole toolbox full of things there. But which ones are you going to select? Which ones are important and relevant to you? The fourth of the seminars is on loving relationships. And I say right from the get-go with this, I have adopted this from the work of Sandra Ray, who has been teaching the loving relationships seminar since the 1970s. I swear she got some divine download on basic relationship patterns that haven't gone out of style whatsoever. And there are things that when you hear them, you say, oh, yay, right. That hits the nail on the head for me. And then again, what to do about them. All of these seminars have exercises that are done alone, in writing, physically, shared with a partner, a small group, or a large group. So there's a lot of variety in how we interact. And with the Creative Life Community Series, we will be interacting in the first part of the day with our local group, and in the second part of the day with the communities around the country, and maybe even outside the country. So the richness that we bring into this is truly exponential. The fifth one is called completion. And okay, so we spent 5 months together. We've done breathing together. We've done exercises together. We've laughed, we've cried. How do we come out of this feeling complete? And what is completion, by the way? Well, we look in this final seminar at what's called the 5 biggies: birth trauma, parental disapproval syndrome, specific negatives, past life stuff, and the unconscious death urge. Oh, that sounds like fun. Well, actually it is when you get these suckers out of the woodwork and you look them in the eye, and they're not so big. We can deal with these. We want to come out of this series not only having done a total inventory and house cleaning, but have playmates, but have people who have been in the trenches with us, with whom we shared these things. We come out having the sense of a spiritual family. Okay, so how is this going to work, Jim? Because for 33 years, you had your group there in Milwaukee, and people would come from around the state. And like Steve Moe used to drive in from Rhineland, 6-hour drive back and forth to do this. So we're turning it up a notch. Just like you've seen, we have the ability now to either just have an in-house group, people gathered together in a meeting room, or a virtual group, people that gather together on the screen, or a hybrid group. We've got a group in the room, and we've also got people who are tuning in on the screen. You've seen me do this. We've got the tech support to do a hybrid group and to make these connections with communities around the country. And I had actually been the director of Leonard Orr's organization, Theta International, which connected these one-year seminar programs in cities around the country. But what did connection mean in those days? In those days, connection meant we hopped on an airplane and we would go to Atlanta, and then we'd go to Washington, D.C., and then we'd go to New Jersey, and then we would go to Boston or New York, and then we would go to Pittsburgh. So it meant a lot of travel and teaching the same thing over and over. And I helped organize it so that leaders could have a loop. They would go and they wouldn't have to fly from their home to each city every week of the month. So they could go to one city and the next and the next and so on. And meanwhile, they also did individual sessions and other seminars. So I've had some experience in what it is to link these cities and these seminars together in the old-fashioned way. But now, with the advent of our friend, the internet, and what we have today, we don't need to pack our bags and get on an airplane and people fly in. We have ways, and we've demonstrated we can do this. We've demonstrated that this is viable and that people actually get something from working in the virtual medium. In fact, they get something very deeply in doing that because we're making essential connection. And the screen disappears when you are making essential connection with someone else. This is what Einstein knew about and what the great masters have known about, is that going to that timeless place inside of us, we eliminate the exigencies of time and space. And so this is the purpose of the Creative Life Community Series, is to bring us all to that timeless place where we connect and we support one another in ways that we haven't been able to in the past. I think the world needs this now. Okay, let's get a little more practical. How is this going to work? Well, the day split into two parts. The first part will be the local group working together. And then the second part will put all of the communities together. And I will teach the second part. People who are your virtual folks have the link to tune in to me and the other communities. And you in the room have a screen where your in-house people are watching and participating and doing the exercises together with everyone in the national community. And then there is a mid-month meeting, which is optional. Between that 4 hours once a month, there is somewhere the second or third week, there's a 2-hour, what I call mid-month meeting, in which we review a little bit, answer questions, talk about the topic of the month, be it body mastery, prosperity, whatever it is. But then we breathe together. We have a group breath work. And this really deepens the bonding then, because we're out of the noodle and we're into the heart. And so by the end of the 5 months, my experience in having done this in the past, but by the end of it, because of the depth, because of the truth of what we've talked about, there's a deep bonding. In January, we will do a free intro. Okay, Thank you all, my friend.